we spill the means. From kitchen to table, hospitality bright. Flavors of the world dancing in the light. Sipping, brewing, tasting fine. Making beans, it's our time. Tune in, folks, we're taking a ride. For culinary tales far and wide.
Start it up. Here we go. Chef Dan, what's cooking?
How you
Welcome
doing?
to the
Thank you
show.
so much for having me on.
Pleasure seeing you as always.
Likewise.
I'm sure you got a lot of cool things cooking these days.
A lot of moving parts, a lot of irons in the fire. What
So
about you? I've seen a little bit of what you got going on lately. You've been cooking with live fire.
God. So I've been cooking with live fire for, several years now. And, it was never my primary focus, but really getting back to that carnal cooking and fire and using wood or charcoal. It's just adding another technique to the bag of tricks.
Right.
And it's definitely an advanced level of cooking.
Sure.
You can't just jump on live fire and start cooking if you have not worked a grill before. That's definitely for sure. And it's something that I'm embracing now. I'm doing a lot of events, and it's a lot of fun, but the heat that you're behind the heat, and then you just get smoked out, and it's an adjustment for sure.
Oh yeah.
And just a level of control. But you've been doing it for a number of years.
Yeah, I've worked under renowned California pitmaster Ernest Romero, and he taught me most of everything I know about barbecue. I'm really lucky, and currently I work at Zeph Barbecue. You may know him from Barbecue Brawl on the Food Network. He was also on Barbecue Showdown on Netflix.
Barbecue Showdown,
Super cool guy. Working for him part-time until
right now.
Right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now. You should come visit me.
We got to connect a little bit more. Yeah,
I love that.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, and I'm just doing that in the meantime until I help open my buddy's restaurant up in Santa Barbara. We're going to be doing Basque food, but to touch on the live fire thing that you said, we're actually going to have a Josper oven in there. So it's like for those of you folks out there who don't know, that's a wood-fired oven basically, and this is the turbo, so it'll allow in twice as much air, meaning it can burn twice as fast, you guys. So
does it have a fan system?
I don't know if it
built
has
in
a fan
or
system. It's just got more vents. I think it's
just a venting.
Vents.
Okay,
yeah.
So the venting to allocate the airflow. Okay.
Yeah, theoretically it should be twice that. I don't know the real math on it, but it's more air for sure.
So you see a lot of these live fires are, they're using fans or when I do events I use cardboard.
Yep. I've seen some guys use leaf blowers. I'm not joking.
I was segueing to that. You see a lot of people using leaf blowers, and then I saw a recent post by Chef, I think in Australia, because they do a lot of live fire out there. They make these mini blowers now.
Yeah, I've
like little mini handheld ones, and it just takes no space, and it's really cool.
It's funny you mentioned that. You and I have an acquaintance, a common acquaintance, Ricardo Zarate.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's a very talented chef. He does Nikkei cuisine from Peru.
Peruvian,
yeah. And so I had previously done a pop-up, and he was the guest chef there. And we did a salt encrusted pink sea bream.
Nice.
It was Dorade, and it was stuffed with, it was fantastic. And we used one of those little blowers, and my boss at the time happened to have one, and I was like, well, that's perfect because we're throwing it right on the coals.
That's great. Yeah, it works perfect
time
for exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, so this new place you're doing is in Santa Barbara.
Yes.
When do you think it's going to open?
Hopefully, all things, if they go according to plan, May.
Okay.
And that's
never goes to plan, but
demo's done. Apparently this week the inspector has or is supposed to come through. I haven't gotten an update on that yet. I'm not in there on the day-to-day operations quite yet. And then from there, it's just construction time.
Right.
The plans are all signed off and everything. So it's just a matter of slapping a few tables together and booths in place. And there's a little more touch up than
big
that.
Place or small place?
It's a large place. So if you're familiar with Victoria, it's right on the corner of State and Victoria.
So off State. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's in downtown Santa Barbara.
Good foot traffic then?
Great foot traffic.
Okay.
It's a beautiful location. And there's an upstairs area as well, which blew my mind because normally when you go into a restaurant, obviously there's no upstairs,
Right.
So it just it's like a labyrinth in there. It's a huge property.
Cool. And the name?
The name is going to be Dom's Taverna.
Dom's Taverna. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Basque food.
Yeah.
Definitely need some more range in Santa Barbara. So
Yeah,
much
I agree.
Italian, Mexican, and there's some Mediterranean that's really nice. But
You know, for the life of me, I can't remember the name, of course, because I'm on the spot. But I went and got some fantastic noodles the other day, some Mei Fun noodles
Mhm.
at a place in Santa Barbara, and I'll have to get you the name later. We can
was
even-
it? Oh my God.
I'm sure I can find it in my phone, but I also don't want to be a terrible podcast
I
guest.
think their logo is like a bow bun or something.
Nope, that's Secret Bow.
Secret Bow.
And so, you know what's funny? They're 2 doors down from where that restaurant that I'm helping open is going to be.
Okay, good. I know Secret Bow. I ate
love
there like
Secret
a
Bow.
week
They're
ago.
great.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
delicious.
I like Secret Bow. They do
Their
a really good
plating's
job.
very nice. Their portion sizes are pretty solid, and
Yeah.
for Santa Barbara, really nice.
Yeah, they do a really good job.
Yeah.
Food's great. I highly chef recommend it.
Yes.
So I want to segue into your culinary journey to be a chef. So
Right on. Yeah. let's do it.
I got to go there. I want to understand journeys, and I want to understand mentors is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Which I think is important for people to. We're an artisanal industry, a craft industry, and you learn from people.
Yeah.
You can only learn so much for culinary school if you go to culinary school. You don't have to go to culinary school,
Right.
but I want the viewers and let's go back to your culinary journey. Where do you start?
I've been cooking since I was tall enough to reach the stovetop, basically. I was done growing when I was 12, but I've been a growing boy my whole life, if that makes sense.
And you're a big boy.
Yeah, so I'm built like a haystack, so I like to eat, and so I like to cook. When I wanted to eat something, I'd learn how to cook it. So
who was teaching you then when you were that young?
So who was teaching me?
Yeah.
Myself, trial and error. And
so
I would watch
no
Emma.
mom, no your grandma, grandpa.
Listen, I love my mom. I love my dad. But when people ask me why I learned how to cook, I joke and I say self-defense, because neither of them are particularly incredible cooks, and that's not to detract from the fact that they 18 years and they didn't kill me with their cooking, right?
Okay.
But from there,
not family connected.
My grandmother was an exceptional.
Okay,
chef.
there we go. That's where
she
I
was
to go.
my inspiration to be a chef.
Good.
But my immediate family, we didn't really have much culinary talent there. So I would bake with grandma since I was a little kid, and I think it was really special. The last big Christmas that we ever did at her place, she asked me to finally contribute. She asked me to make some barbecue sauce for the chicken. They would do these big Christmases with like 30 people over, and she'd spend a whole month like baking all these different pastries. She'd do Hungarian tea cakes, and she would do raspberry topped pumpkin cheesecake cupcakes, and she'd work her fingers to the bone. She'd be cooking and baking for a month, throw it all in the freezer and slack it out when it was Christmas Eve and get it ready to go. And it was all a labor of love, so it was really special for me to be asked to make the barbecue sauce the last big Christmas we did for the chicken.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's good. So that was your inspiration, and then where did that lead you then?
Well, a lot of situations that you like and a lot that you don't, I mean, that's the culinary journey, right? You kind of find out what you're made of.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it led me to culinary school.
Okay.
And I did that in conjunction with working in the industry. So I've been working in kitchens since I was 15.
Okay.
And my buddy's dad owns a concert venue, and I ended up working for him. And I worked there for a good while. It was, I worked under the chef there, and he kind of taught me how to do the longevity thing in this industry. You got to take care of your feet, get some good shoes. You got to take care of your back.
Go back.
Just that kind of, mind your P's and Q's kind of things, And then when I left there, I ended up working at a lot of different places, basically pursuing experience,
Right.
And I did everything from making pizza to being a saucier to sushi and, all sorts of different styles of cuisine. I, on my own time, would take it upon myself to try and replicate different recipes at home and stuff like that I liked. First style of cuisine I learned that I can say I sort of had any familiarity with was Cajun cuisine.
Okay.
I really liked Cajun food, so I'd always make myself Cajun food.
Nice.
And it was a good time. But you know, from there, I ended up going to culinary school, and I decided it just made a lot more sense as a career path for me, because really that's the only thing that I think I was constantly applying myself at. And,
Right.
you know,
You had the drive, the passion.
right. But you know how it goes. Just because you have passion doesn't mean it pays your bills. So
That's true.
sometimes you have to take other jobs in the meantime, and you still show up to the slog that is, you know, the kitchen. And so I worked as a bouncer for a good while. Some good rain going
I
on
know.
outside. Nice.
Rain season.
Free car. Oh, that's
Actually,
hail.
that's hail.
That's hail. Wow.
Yep.
Never rains in sunny
We're at
California.
that nice elevation. Oh wow, that's some
That's some
nice
good
little hail there
That's all right.
for sure.
So, you know, I ended up working as a bouncer in conjunction with working in the kitchen. So I'd work a lot of day shift in the kitchen, or AM or prep or what have you. That's a lot of my saucier days were then, because you make the sauce and then it doesn't break all day, hopefully.
Mhm.
And, you know, I shouldn't be getting a phone call about a sauce breaking.
Right.
That's on them. So, you know, kind of from there, I left being a bouncer because I found an opportunity that would pay me enough to pay my bills.
Mhm.
And from there, I never looked back. You know, once you can leverage that you're a full-time chef and that's what you do, and you can really be confident in what you say to somebody about your cooking, and you stand behind your cooking and you believe in it, that's when I think it really opens up the door for you into more career paths, you know, when you believe in what you're doing.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So we talked about culinary school. You're teaching culinary now.
So yeah, it's funny that I brought up culinary school. I am teaching at that same culinary school that I graduated.
So the same one. I was going to ask you, where did you attend?
So I attended Oxnard College.
Right.
I am now a teacher, a professor at Oxnard College. Chef Dan.
Nice. Chef Dan, the man.
Dan.
Oxnard College.
It's
so
rewarding. It's so cool.
How do you feel? Like you walk those halls and you're in those kitchens, and then now flash forward, you're working in those kitchens and you're teaching young culinarians. So what is that? How does that make you feel?
Like I said, it's very rewarding. I think that, you know, so I teach a few different classes. I have another teacher that I work with named Chef Tavo. He's fantastic, really talented guy. And he and I trade off teaching the bistro class, which is like the ultimate class that you take as a student, and it's the fine dining class.
Yep.
So students are the chefs or cooks, and students are the wait staff as
and
well.
They all rotate. And that's
No, it's different courses actually. They don't rotate.
Oh, okay.
So there's a dining room class, and there's a gourmet class,
right? And
that's that. So,
and is it open to the public?
It is open to the public.
Okay. Yeah, it's very similar to what I went through.
Yeah. It's so you and I will actually be attending tonight after this.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, because we got a few chef buddies coming.
Yeah, we have a few chef friends coming, and it'll be good to network with all of them. But they're doing a 6-course tasting menu tonight.
Okay. Right.
And it's all really nicely sourced food with a lot of thought put into the prep as well as the actual presentation. And, you know, it's really impressive to see that these students, who I remember being like, I don't know if they'll ever learn how to do an over medium egg right. Well, now they're killing it. You know, they're doing a great job in the gourmet class, and there's a lot of really talented students that come through this program, and some that have so much raw talent and just need a little bit of refining, and some that are just happy to be there to learn. And I'm there for all of it. You know, it's a really beautiful thing that I can give back to somewhere where I took so much from. But I always make sure to tell my students, and I think you'll kind of agree with this as well, really with anything in life, you get out what you put in. Right. So the harder you work, the luckier you get. That's in anything, any industry or anything you do. Right. Definitely. Absolutely. Right. So I always tell the students, you know, if you don't know, ask. I'm never, ever going to be mad at you if you don't know something. You're a student. How mad can I be? You know, I think that by removing the barrier to entry of there being some sort of skill level that you need to achieve before you can know all these things, I think that's bullshit. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast. You can. Awesome. We are uncensored. Awesome. But you know, in my soul, I know that every culture has a fantastic, delicious dish made by the hands of a grandmother who never had any formal training, never needed to stand in a kitchen and stare at my stainless steel table and learn how to truss a chicken. Well, they had formal training from another family member. Well, right. And it just keeps going. The cycle keeps going, right? But they don't need to go to culinary school for that. And what I try to tell them is, you know, you get out what you put in.
Right.
When you pay attention to what's going on around you, if you want to learn something, you'll learn it. YouTube is a wonderful, wonderful tool that we have these days.
YouTube's great. We didn't have that growing up.
Right.
I know I didn't have that growing up.
YouTube rolled around when I was in 7th grade. I was cheating.
You're a little younger than me. We didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have iPhones. I didn't have YouTube. I had dial-up AOL.
Yep.
That's what I grew up with.
Dial-up too. I remember dial-up.
So it was watching. I grew up watching, and this came up recently. Jan Kan Cook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I grew up watching Jan and Julia Child and Mario Batali. Believe it at that. And
for
Food Network, early Food Network. Definitely watched that with my grandmother. But I grew up with chefs in my family. But really, my grandmother, my mom's mother, really pushed me, and she was a chef for Sky Chef, the airlines, and she loved watching the Food Networks, and she'd just be like, "You need to go on there. You can outcook all of them." Blah blah blah. And I've been cooking since I was like a little kid, like you, and but that influence is important. But those days, it's totally different now. You really, the information is there, and you really have to want it. You got to push yourself and really drive. But you don't have to go to culinary school. I went to culinary school to really round out myself, because I worked in restaurants growing up and living with a family, but it was very rustic, rough around the edges. I wanted to go learn, what does nappe mean? What is a julienne? Because that was never mentioned by my grandfather.
Right.
It's just you slice it this way.
Sure.
That's it. There was no terms, and to understand universal
spoon,
terms, I think there's a lot of value there, and it will open your mind. But again, like you said, you get what you put into it.
I also think in some ways, knowing just even some terminology really helps clarify standards. You know what I mean?
Of course, but it's talking a language too. It's speaking, not just, a lot of the terms are in French, but sear, saute, grill.
You have to be familiar with them.
Common familiar terms to where you walk in there and you're not like lost.
I would hope not.
Yeah, I would hope not too. And so it's important. And I love that, you're teaching. I have a lot of respect for teachers. And I used to teach, actually. I taught a semester in the Philippines, an international hospitality school. It was a great experience teaching. And really, I try to incorporate that into my daily life. And when I do work in kitchens, really kind of incorporate that mentor. So speaking of mentors, I always got to ask, the chefs and everybody, who's an early mentor for you? I know you mentioned a few people.
So I would say my mentor is Ernest Romero.
Okay.
Really, really talented chef. He's from Hanford, California, and moved out of there as quickly as he could. And he studied under a lot of really talented chefs, Michelle Richard, Nancy Silverton. I for the life of me, Mark Peel as well. He helped open Campanile, and he helped open what was the bakery? The
Nancy Silverton's bakery.
Why can't I remember the name?
I can't either.
It's the worst. I feel so bad right now.
Well, she sold. So
I know.
she's not involved anymore.
So I don't even bother with it anymore.
Sorry, everybody. It's not as good as it used to be.
The quality slipped, folks. I'm sorry.
But it's everywhere. It's in every grocery store around the country now. It's not.
Listen,
I can't think of the name.
If I can get big and sell out, I'm going to, and that's what she did. I don't blame her. Go Nancy.
Hey, I mean, you can only do something for so long, and then hey, somebody comes with you.
Right.
That's your goal, right? That's the dream. Somebody drops some cash on you. Hey, okay.
Well, and I think
no shame in that.
No, not at all. And I think people don't realize chefs, like a lot of people in a lot of different career fields, we have a lot of projects going on, right?
We have to diversify ourselves.
Whether it's work or passion projects or a next thing that we're doing, we're always in a state of transformation.
Yeah.
Chefs never sit still. We always have something going on. And so, I mean, for her to even hold on to the bakery for that long,
right,
is just unbelievable.
La Brea,
thank you.
There it is. It was in there somewhere. La Brea Bakery. So those of you at home,
for her to even be at it for that long without selling and actually be at the head of all the operations is.
But also, it takes its toll.
Absolutely. Like I said, I can't believe she had it that long, because I would have gotten rid of it.
Oh
probably,
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, being on your feet that long, going up early,
It's
you
a
get
ball and
older,
chain.
you kind of get aged a certain way, and you have to take a step back and go in a different angle. I always think of, like Bourdain, he reached a certain age, and then his book, and then went doing TV, got out of the kitchen, because even he said many times, like, I can't continue to do this.
Right.
My back, your feet, and it gets grueling. Yeah.
It's not easy.
And that's where a little bit where I'm at with my career too. It takes its toll physically, mentally, and you need to have that stability. It can take a dire toll on you. And, especially when you go into Michelin levels, there's another level of psychology that goes into that to maintain 3 Michelin stars. Like, you get the first star, sure, then the second star, then the third star, and then it's maintaining those standards constantly,
Maintaining it
day.
I would argue that maintaining it is significantly harder than
It's harder.
actually earning it for the first
It's harder than earning it.
time. 'Cause
Absolutely.
not only are you on your feet for 12 hours a day minimum,
Yeah.
I mean, you are a slave to the job.
Yeah.
Everything you do,
And you're judged.
yeah,
Constantly judged.
every dish
all
you
the
put
time.
up is going to have 7 or 8 components, and those components each take 20 to 30 steps to prep. Everything has to be perfect.
And you don't know when that next critic comes, and
Right.
especially if they're from Michelin, you don't know.
No,
And
they don't.
It's a level. I have a lot of respect for it. It has its time and place, and we'll leave it at that.
I'm just gonna say what I feel about it. I don't think that there's any precursor to good food. I think that some of the best food I've had in my entire life has been made by the most unassuming folks, and it's just sometimes you have to buy into what they're doing because they're doing it with good intentions and an honest heart. And it's to give you an example and to kind of segue into something else that you and I had kind of discussed about talking about on this podcast episode. But I was in Hong Kong and I tried this absolutely. Let me give you a story here real quick.
Let's do it.
All right. So speaking of Michelin, my wife is a performer for a very huge company that shall not be named. And so she got a contract in Hong Kong, and I ended up traveling out there for a couple of weeks.
Gallivanting.
Gallivanting indeed.
That's what I like to use.
Well, so she gets paid pretty well, and it's like good, it's a really good job. They put her up in a hotel, they give her a grocery allowance,
full package,
and, salary she doesn't have to touch. It's great. So she had a bunch of money waiting to go for me when I got there, and I was like, "You're kidding!" So I was going around the whole town in Hong Kong, just doing what I wanted, basically. But so we looked up this Michelin-rated Cantonese barbecue place. I've been obsessed with Chinese barbecue for a while.
Yeah,
and it was cool that you got to work together in the capacity that we did, because you also have a good respect for traditional Chinese and Asian flavors, And so we ended up I ended up going by myself one day just to try it. They had this roast goose that looked amazing, and I did my research, and they had the crispy skin pork belly, and I walk in and they said, "Sorry, reservations are full," and I got turned away. So I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I go looking for another roast goose place. I'm walking around for about half an hour because Google Maps and Hong Kong don't really get along. So I end up there finally, and I think I'm lost, and I look up and I find this place, and I'm finally there, and they're closed. So I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
It's a quest now.
So now I'm like, you know what? I hate this place. I'm lost. I feel dejected. And I go, you know what? I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Damn it. There's a grocery store that's on the second floor of the mall that's attached to our hotel. And damn it, I can buy really good Wagyu beef for cheap. So I'm going to go there. Well, as I start walking back to the train station, maybe about just down the walkway from the train station, not more than a quarter mile, there's this smell that just grabs me out of nowhere. And I follow my nose and I end up at this little shack. And it's this woman grilling skewers, just this old lady. And the menu's in English, but when I go to order in English, she doesn't know what I'm saying.
Nope.
But the daughter's helpful, so she kind of helps out and we figure it out. And she asks, I order one duck skewer, one beef skewer, and one crispy chicken skin. And she asked me if I wanted it regular or spicy, and I said I want it how you like it, And let me tell you, man, when I'm sitting down, there's no such thing as, backyards in Hong Kong. It's all public space, but everything by virtue of that is sort of really nicely designed. It's all easy on the eyes. So you've got these garden hedge walls or whatever that old men are sitting on and playing games I don't recognize and eating skewers and smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, look, if it's good enough for them, it's got to be good, So I bite in, and it's a transcendent experience. I learned, like, really just don't ever judge, because this little old lady grilling skewers might change your life on just one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you never know when you're abroad, for sure. But Hong Kong left a big imprint on me as well. I gallivanted Hong Kong for 1 weekend and did, I think, around 50 restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fun. Did you get a foot massage?
I did not.
Oh, come on.
I'm weird about it. I don't want anyone to touch my feet. I'm like,
it's life changing. If you're in Hong Kong, eat everything, but also get a foot massage.
It's funny too, because speaking of Michelin again, and I'm not trying to drag their name through the mud or anything, but it seems like they hand out Michelin recognition over there like candy.
They got a bunch of them. A lot of little stalls, and if you go to Singapore, it's another big spot for sure.
But that's the thing, is in Asia they'll recognize food stalls and stuff like that. Over here, I really don't think you're gonna get. What's our equivalent of a food stall? A taco truck, a snack bar. You know what I mean?
Taco truck, I would say.
Yeah,
or a food hall, type place.
I don't think they're gonna be prowling around here looking for the best.
They're giving bibs,
bowling alley, plates, pizza. And I think my mission in life is just to make more good food happen for the world, whether it's shining a light on it and giving credit where it's due, or making it or teaching people how to make it, Absolutely. So I think it was cool that I could go to Hong Kong and be like, yeah, let's go to the train station. They have this dim sum that's going to slap you silly. Like, it's so good,
Dim sum. Did you find char siu?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Pork shoulder.
So they had pork shoulder.
That's like the equivalent to like our standard barbecue, basically.
There was a little bakery in the mall that was attached to our hotel, and I think it was $1.30 to go get like a nice fresh made pork bun. And my breakfast every day was a couple of those, just a couple of it wasn't bao. It was an actual bun.
Oh, it was in the clamshell?
No, not clamshell. It was like a full-blown, almost like a brioche looking bun.
Oh, like a hamburger bun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's a little different.
And they had like char siu pork in there.
Right.
But it was so good. I couldn't get anything else for breakfast. I tried everything else. It was good. Yeah, whatever. But that char siu, good. It was like so.
Yeah, char siu is definitely an art. They've definitely mastered that, and I love to make it. And I do it here and there. So Hong Kong left a good imprint on you.
I'm a California boy. I was born here. I've lived here my whole life, so public transit is sort of a foreign concept to me. It was really cool being in Hong Kong and having access to the train, and like you can go anywhere.
It's pretty efficient.
Yeah. Every building in that city, I feel like, is a skyscraper of some sort,
it's very tall. Everything's tall.
Right. And so like, it's there. You just got to find out which floor it's on. And there's so many stops. I got lost for
there's a mall as you walk across a bridge, and there's another mall, and and it goes up and just levels of malls.
Yeah. One thing about Hong Kong is they love a good mall there.
Yep. Yeah. They're definitely everywhere.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome. So early on, you were talking about, cooking competitions, and you trained under someone who was on Food Network, but you were on Food Network yourself, right?
So I was on Food Network. Yeah.
What show? What remind me of that show?
It was called Battle of the Decades.
Battle of the Decades. I was trying to look it up, and I just couldn't find it. Battle of the Decades. That's right. And you won.
Season 1, episode 2. I did win. Yes.
Episode 2, season 1. So awesome. Yeah. So I really want to dive into that, because I think that's very, very unique.
Yeah.
Not a lot of chefs do competitions, and I think they're kind of hard to get into. I tried getting on Chop once, and nothing. Never heard anybody. But what was the process for you and the experience for you?
So initially, someone texted me. I don't want to divulge names here because but a casting agent texted me and said, "Hi, I was given your contact information." I didn't ask where she'd gotten it from or anything like that, but she goes, I got your contact information, and we're casting for a new show, and it's really cool premise. I'll explain it to you. And, if you're in, let me know. And, you know, we'll go from there. So I said, sure, I'm in. Why not? What do I have to lose? You know? And I distinctly remember where I was when I got that phone call, because I was gassing my car up. I was getting gas in my car, and I'm like on the phone, and I'm like, hang on. Can I call you back? And she's like, don't worry about it. I know you're ready to go. So I'll pass that information on. We'll go from there. I had another casting director, somebody reach out to me. And we proceeded from there. I had to go on Zoom and do like a little Zoom interview.
Yep.
And then I had another Zoom interview where I cooked for them. Basically, they told me I would have 30 minutes to cook, just time it up as if I had. And you know what? It's kind of funny because there's a lot of people out there who I feel like would prep so much stuff before their little 30-minute window. I met with them and presented the dish, you know, and I really did a 30-minute dish. I had some pre-cooked pork belly that I did pressure cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like a nice little Benedict, you know, like a little Florentine, little spinach in there, but overall, and a whiskey hollandaise. I really didn't get too complicated with it, but I wanted to show something I could do in 30 minutes that was, you know, somewhat refined, and I could work with like, okay, if I'm given like cooked meat or whatever, I can throw that on there, you know, and they liked it, and I got cast as an alternate.
Oh, so you're an alt.
I was an alternate.
Okay.
And
so just stand by until we call you.
Yeah, so every morning at 7 a.m., they said, be ready to receive a phone call. And
it's like waiting for jury duty.
Yeah, so you know what? I didn't mind because they said they'd pay me, they'd pay me, I can't remember how much it was, but, you know, if I was on standby, I'd get X amount per day.
Oh,
even if I wasn't
you still get paid. All right.
And I was like, cool, great. Yeah, sign me up, you know, because even if I don't go, I'll take a couple extra bucks here and there. Yeah. And I remember the day that I got the call because my family was in town. And we were out at coffee. It was like 11 or something, you know, and I get the call, and the guy goes, okay, so our guy who was going to go tomorrow, he's sick. He can't go. Can you go? And I said, oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there. He said, okay, be at this location at this time, and we'll shuttle you to the sound stage and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a trip. It was really surreal. A lot of things on set are exactly as advertised.
Okay.
And a lot of things are completely phony, you know?
Is there a lot of stop, redo it, or stop
there's
and
a
go
lot
back,
of like, you know, when they say go, they want to get like a shot of you like jumping, springing into action, you know, and it's like,
so were they like telling you or like instructing you how you should do something?
No, but they do like, I think when just for a few different rounds, they're like, okay, we're going to say go a bunch of different times, and you guys got to spring into action, and we're just going to keep shooting it over and over so we can get good shots of everybody.
Okay. Angles and shots.
It's all for the shots, you know, it's not like any of the competition is, you know, you really do have that amount of time,
right?
When you have a finite amount of time to cook something, that's the time you got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not cutting corners on time for sure.
You've got what's in the fridges. They're not gonna, you know, have a secret fridge in the back with all the nice stuff in it that you wanted, you know. It's
so how many it was one main episode, but how many days of so taping was it?
I shot for 2 days. One
so
was
2 days
competition
total.
And one was the commentary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 days total. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you have to go somewhere?
I mean, it was local. It was in like LA, you know.
Oh, okay.
So
what was like a chaotic or unexpected thing that happened?
There were plenty of those. There were plenty.
I'm sure that's why I want to ask.
So first things first, I recognize one of the chefs. So we're meeting at a hotel, and they'll shuttle us to the soundstage from the hotel.
Okay.
One of the competitors is gonna drive himself to the soundstage. He's not meeting us at the hotel. Okay, whatever. So I recognize one of the chefs. It's Debbie Lee, and she's a huge deal in the LA Korean food scene. Mm-hmm. Really, really talented chef. She does Korean royal dining at Joseon, and she also does Yicha as well. Really, really talented, really refined. And I recognized her right away. I was like, oh, dude, I'm going down. And I met the other chefs that I was on the episode with. And then we walk into the green room, and then I see another competitor, the guy who drove himself, Derek, who is a 4-time Food Network champion and hosts his own show on Discovery.
Nice. So were you sweating?
Yeah, I thought I was going home in the first round because look at them, you know, they're studs. And like, how can I go, you know? So basically the premise of this show was they would pair a seasoned vet, which was at least in my episode, these chefs were all 40 plus,
Mhm.
and then there were rising stars, and we were all 30 or younger,
Right.
and they paired us up in teams. The first round, they selected a year, so it's called Battle of the Decades, and they selected a year. 1994 was my episode, which coincidentally is the year that I was born.
That's awesome.
And they said, okay, so these are the culinary trends that were happening in that year. So they gave us a mystery basket with all those ingredients. So they said, okay, boneless, skinless chicken breast, because no fat, nothing ever. In the 90s, that was all the rage.
Yep.
Cut all the fat out. They gave us Lucky Charms because breakfast cereal commercials were all the rage.
Yep.
We had muffin tops because of that Seinfeld episode, and we had a guest judge from Seinfeld, actually, Newman. Yeah.
That was Newman, right?
Newman.
Newman. Hello, Newman.
He's a sweet guy, really, really nice guy.
Oh, he looks it for sure.
And then we had ranch, because ranch was a big deal in the 90s. And then we also got a mystery kitchen tool based on whatever was popular in the kitchen in that time period. So we got to use, or were made to use, however you choose to look at it. We were given a George Foreman grill.
George Foreman's grill. I have one. I still have my George Foreman grill. I think in my storage. I've used them. Make good paninis.
I lit up when I saw that George Foreman grill because I grew up in a George Foreman household, So I was the master of the George Foreman panini and quesadilla and like everything you can make in there,
Yep.
It's great. It's just a little panini press. So we ended up making poached chicken breast. A lot of people, I should say both of the other teams made a fried chicken because they saw the Lucky Charms and they saw the muffin tops and they saw chicken and ranch. They're like, yeah, I'm going to make fried chicken. Well, there were only 2 fryers. So my partner and I had a good discussion, Chef Robinson, pardon me. And really, really talented guy as well. And we agreed we were going to poach the chicken to kind of show off a little finesse because it's breast, it'll dry out like that if you do it wrong. So we poach it. We make a ranch bechamel over the top with like a chive puree. We do like an agrodolce out of the marshmallows that are in the Lucky Charms.
Nice.
And we did our best. We did some cauliflower in the George Foreman grill to use it, but it was a grind for sure. That first round, it came down to the very end for us, and it came out nice. We got lucky that the agrodolce came out green and not like brown or blue or some unappetizing color, but we didn't know what combo of colors the marshmallows, it's just, it could make whatever. So we got lucky. And the second round, they had us go to, they had us do a TikTok trend, or I guess whatever viral trend. It doesn't have to be TikTok, but whatever on social media. So they had us do accordion potatoes. And so we had a pretty good dish for that second round. I gotta say, we did a poutine caviar service. So I did like a lamb and veal stock, and I just reduced it, made like a nice little demi. We had cheese curds, and then we did like a little caviar service on top of our potato. It was a
caviar and poutine.
Yep, and just pipe our sour cream, and it was really nice.
Goes well.
So. Well, lo and behold, we end up in the final round. And what they do in that round, because there's only one team standing, is they split the team up.
Yep.
And Chef Robin's really talented. I mean, he's got finesse, and he's a sweet guy. I like him a lot. So I'm scared to go up against him. I'm like, I'm going home. Like he's got years of experience on me in the kitchen. He's really talented. I don't think I stand a snowball's chance. Our challenge is beef Wellington, a timeless classic.
Yeah.
Now we can do our take on it if we want, and of course I'm going to do my own take on beef Wellington. I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 months prior to actually, maybe less, to actually recording that episode, I specialed a lamb Wellington at the restaurant I was working at the time. And they told us we'd have 45 minutes to make it. Well, the first thing I think in my head is, there's no way you're getting a beef Wellington done in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You just, the beef needs time to cook. It needs time to rest. You can't
Mhm.
put it in the puff hot.
Mhm.
The duxelle is a whole nother moisture issue. It's, so I rough chopped my duxelle, and I just made sure to have a good amount of prosciutto in there. And I seared the lamb to basically medium that I was going to put in there, like medium rare, and just let it basically cook really hot on the outside,
Mhm.
but protect that lamb to kind of slowly get up to medium. And then when I pulled it all out, I just did one large log, sliced it on the bias, and plated those little, nice pieces with little fried sage. And then I did I kind of have fun with this one. It's a little tongue in cheek, but this is for my chefs out there. I did a flourless Meunière sauce. So for those of you that know French, I don't. But when I learned that Meunière means the miller's wife,
Mm.
it's kind of funny because Meunière sauce literally consists of only a few things, and flour is a crucial component.
Yeah.
So the fact that I do a flourless Meunière is kind of like, I'm an asshole and I know it. But I really like to, I like to toast my almonds. I like to just get my butter and some fresh parsley and lemon in there. And I like to let it sort of mount back into natural, just cooled butter. If you temper it appropriately, it makes a really nice sauce, almost like a beurre blanc without
can
lemon
control
juice,
it.
And so it adds a whole nother degree of flavor, especially with the fattiness of that lamb. I really wanted to cut through it with a little bit of lemon, but also the toastiness of those almonds, really makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So I got lucky. I pulled through.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So what was a key takeaway for you? And then what would be a piece of advice for somebody wanting to go onto a show, or if somebody might be going onto a show, what kind of advice would you give?
Okay. Key takeaway. Don't doubt yourself. I doubted myself. And there were a lot of things that I thought I could do in that competition that I didn't do because I didn't think I'd be able to pull it off. And I still, in the moment, looking back, there were moments I doubted myself in the moment when I was making the food on the show. And I ended up winning, but there's a million reasons why. And luck is a big part of them for sure. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the greatest of all time. I got lucky for sure. There were a lot of really talented chefs on that episode.
That's good. It's definitely easy to doubt ourselves, especially when you're among a lot of different peers, and you might recognize some, and you're just like, oh, it's, what? Hey, win or lose, you still win.
Right.
At the end of the day, because you get that experience.
Absolutely.
And you have that takeaway that you can learn from.
Yep.
So I think that's huge for anybody.
It was really nice. I got so lucky that they even contacted me, and it just worked out, But then as far as advice goes to anyone who wants to be on one of those shows, the truth of the matter is, sometimes you don't have to just be lucky. You got to be good. So focus on your craft, really, because when opportunity meets preparation, that's when success takes place.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, So I think to all the people out there, I don't have any magic secret to get on the show. I got to be real with you. They texted me and I said, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
But if you do get the opportunity, be yourself and do what you know, and rock that shit, because that's what chefs do. In the 80s, they had rock stars with all these big personalities and all these
Macapir White
did things. And now, I mean, rock stars are working in kitchens, that's really where all the big personalities are these days.
Yeah.
All of the people with clever quips and all of the, I mean, I've met so many brilliant minds in kitchens. It's actually unbelievable, and it's this whole, I almost want to say subculture of people, but I avoid saying subculture because the majority of Americans, at least, at one point in their life, have worked in some sort of food service establishment.
Yeah, in some form of hospitality,
knows.
or people come from that. Whether they're in school and they're working a job in a restaurant somewhere, or a bar, it gets them through school, or a nurse. That's a big one. Nurses get through that, or it's very common for sure.
Yeah,
because I mean we are a large industry, and
Huge.
everybody needs it, or it's, or you worked at McDonald's when you're growing up. First
Even
job, I
then.
worked at McDonald's. I love that one when I'm interviewing people and people be like, oh, I worked at KFC or
Mhm.
McDonald's. I like that on a resume
Sure.
because it means you have some type of structure.
Mhm.
And if you were successful there and you put some time in there, you really learn systems structure, which it applies in so many places compared to I worked at this mom and pop place.
They
Well,
might
a
do it
lot of the
their
people
way.
who worked at the mom and pop place learned a lot of bad habits.
Mhm.
And then I got to break those.
Mhm.
So there's that perspective there that I think people don't always understand. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. So I want to go back to, can you share a quick tip or a mini recipe from your time in Hong Kong that people might be able to try at home? Something you were inspired, where you came home, you're like, I have to make this or try to recreate this. Did you have that moment? Did you do anything like that?
I'm going to let you guys in on a really magical secret right now. So we in the US, first of all, and this has nothing to do with what I'm about to teach y'all. This is a separate thing I'm about to teach y'all. We need to use more 5-spice. This is a public announcement.
Love
We
5-spice.
need to
Yeah.
use more Chinese 5-spice. That stuff brings out such incredible flavors in so many different dishes. I mean, I was having like 5-spice roasted goose flavored chips in Hong Kong. It was,
Yeah.
but
Popcorn.
yeah, it's so I ended up observing and really learning a lot about the barbecue culture
Mhm.
in Hong Kong. And it's funny because for us, we use wood, period, end of story in the US. It's not barbecue unless it's smoked.
Yeah. It's got to be smoked.
Well, in China and in many parts of Asia in general, it's not smoked as we would smoke it
Nope.
with wood.
Nope.
I learned that it's actually cooked over, or the smoke is provided by basically the rendered fat dripping onto the heat element, or a piece of metal that's above the heat element.
Like a
And-
wok,
Right.
which is imparting a smoky flavor to it.
Sure.
To
Yeah.
something.
I
Yeah.
mean, so when you look at like, these Peking ducks or whatever, where they're
Mm-hmm.
hanging them up and they have them in this oven and the skin gets crispy, but you
Mhm.
see the smoke rising from the oven. It's coming from the fat dripping onto the,
Yep.
the heating element. So to do it at home, you guys, here's the hot tip. You can take a pan. You're going to want to take a nice sturdy pan, and it's stainless steel is ideal here. And you're going to want to put that over the hottest heat you can possibly produce.
Mhm.
And you're going to want to take a baking rack and put it over the top of that pan.
Mhm.
So you create distance between what you're cooking and the pan itself. You put it on there after about 5 minutes of irresponsible heat to the bottom of that pan.
Mhm.
I'm talking world shattering heat. If you have a wok burner, you'll be able to definitely do
Yeah.
this, a good camp stove. I like Camp Chef personally. They're durable and I can replace them for cheap. So, they're
Mhm.
great. Once you use that baking rack, you can basically cold smoke or even hot smoke, if you give it enough time, things that you put on that rack by just basically the fat dripping from the ambient heat and rendering into that pan and basting it in that smoke. So
Yep.
that's my hot tip.
Yeah,
That's
the
what I
basting
learned.
is very important for sure.
Oh, it's delicious. It's
Love Peking duck. If you've never had Peking duck, get out to your nearest Chinese restaurant, get a Peking duck.
yes.
It's in the way they carve it is just that's a whole art as
It
well, and with the crispy skin and
Mhm.
and then if it's served with buns or the little crepes that they do too with
Yep. Mm-hmm.
hoisin and cucumber or scallion, like, oh yes, we used to use.
Magical.
I learned how to make those ducks in my travels through Hong Kong, but at Tao, when I was a chef at Tao, we made them as well. So
bet.
I learned how they did it there, and I made them at home in my oven and pretty successfully. So
I bet
but it does take some time. It does take some time. Not easy to
it
do.
takes a while.
So go find a good Chinese restaurant and get your experience on that.
You'll be happy you did, folks.
So I also got to ask, so a question I like to ask all my chefs. So what's your favorite thing to cook, and why does it hold a special place for you? What is like your signature dish? I know we talked about barbecue and Creole, and like if I asked you to make something, like what represents Chef Dan?
What represents Chef Dan?
Cooking competition.
I'm a simple guy, you know, I like a good steak. But
Okay.
if you ask my wife, she'd probably tell you that it's either my mac and cheese or my Thai green curry.
Okay.
Yep,
Mac or curry.
She
Okay.
likes both of those.
So what styles?
Well, you know, all sorts of different styles, but I do a Thai green curry.
Green curry.
And I really like to cook a lot of Russian food.
Okay.
Russian was my first language, and I grew up eating with a different palate than most kids my age. You know, not most kids are eating pickled this or salted that,
A lot of
or
pickles.
whatever. A lot of sugar, salt, and fat and fried, and it's, you know, there's a reason why I grew up faster than those other kids for sure. I was eating good, but you know, I really love those old world flavors, and I think now, because you see a lot of this this influx of French technique in all of these fusion restaurants now, they're starting to incorporate more French flavors, which is funny because to me they're so familiar. I think the French are scoundrels. I think they're thieves. I think they stole Russian cuisine and rebranded it because it's so similar. I really think a lot of those ingredients are getting the spotlight a lot more, and I'm really happy to see it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's great. That is great. So, I think we're to call it.
Sounds good.
But it's been great having you, Chef Dan, the man. We have a dinner reservation, I think, coming up too.
Yes, we do.
Right in a
Yes,
little
we
bit.
do.
So we're gonna go get some food, talk to some students. I'll
Yep.
be able to talk to some students
Yes.
as well. So love doing that. See what they got cooking. Maybe they're making beans.
They might be.
I don't know. Well, thanks for coming on to the show. We're gonna have to do this again because I feel like we have a lot to talk about, and we could probably be here for 3 hours. But we're not gonna go that crazy.
We'll do it again.
We'll definitely do it again. But thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone out there, thanks for checking out the show. Hopefully, y'all have been digging the shows and the various guests that I'm having come on, and I hope we keep this going. And the next show I have planned for you, we're going to bring on a winemaker. So I got a local Ojai winemaker. I think that's going to be a good one. I'm not going to mention his name or the label yet, but really good background. I'm very interested in having a conversation with him about the wine world, and we all love wine, you know. And but anyway, everybody, please subscribe. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have our socials, Instagram. Please check us out. If you need help with a recipe or an idea for a show, please email me, john@makingbeans.com. I want to really start incorporating some more recipes in this show. Let's talk a little bit about that. Or if you have a question about the hospitality industry, whether you're just somebody at home or you're an aspiring cook or chef who wants to go to culinary school, and maybe you have some burning questions, please email me, john@makingbeans.com. Really want to get some more guest interactions with you guys, the viewers. So appreciate you coming out. Thanks for tuning in to Making Beans podcast. Keep your fires burning and your knives sharp. Until next time, cheers.
Cooking up stories, making dreams. Talking about life, sharing themes. Sip on wisdom, enjoy the ride. Recipes and culture all in stride. Making beans, we break it down. Food and drink on every round. From kitchen tales to heartfelt talks. Spicing up your daily walks. Hospitality, we keep it real. Chefs and brews, they'll make you feel. Every dish, every drink. More than just what's in the sink. Making beans, we break it down. Food and drink on every round. From kitchen tales to heartfelt talks. Spicing up your daily walks. Life is flavorful of zest. Join the table, be our guest. Culture, stories, new cuisine. Every episode like a dream. Ooh, 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 ooh. Food and drink on every round. From kitchen tales to heartfelt talks. Spicing up your daily walks. Life is flavorful of zest. Join the table, be our guest. Culture, stories, new cuisine. Every episode like a dream.